Hola, and welcome to another Spanish lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be meeting the verb ser. Now, ser is one of what I like to call a criminal verb. It's one of those verbs that does not behave itself. And so to help you remember that ser is a criminal verb, let's put a little icon beside him, right? Criminal verb, does not behave. So we're going to be doing two things with ser in this lesson. We're going to be conjugating it in the present tense. And we're also going to be looking at the uses of ser. And when we speak of the uses of ser, we're speaking about the particular conditions under which you would use a conjugation of the verb ser. And there's a very good reason why we need to know this, and that will come later in the lesson. Let's just jump into our conjugation, shall we? Now, one of the reasons why ser is considered a criminal verb is because it does not follow the regular conjugation pattern. There are 6 steps in conjugation, and I think ser maybe conforms to about 3 out of the 6. One of the 3 is that it can tell us its meaning. It means to be. But we cannot go the route of removing the stem from the ending, writing the stem 5 times, because we're not going to have a regular thing occurring there. So what I will go ahead and do is fill in our pronouns. And so we have our pronouns. The pronouns, that's one of the steps that we can do, are yo, to with the accent on the U, él, ella, usted, nosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. Now, because ser is completely irregular, I'm just going to write the conjugation. Now, when it comes on to your irregular or your criminal verbs, you cannot second guess them. You can't pin them down to a pattern. You simply have to study them. You have to just know this is how they're conjugated, and that's all there is to it. So for ser, it comes down to soy. And here we're going to see right away why removing the stem from the ending would not work. Because if we had removed the stem from the ending, we would be left with S. So that could be a little bit explained. But there is no E when you remove the ending from the stem. And so totally irregular. Right off the bat, it's doing its own thing. So this is your conjugation of the verb ser. And I'm going to be giving you a little rhyme that I made up some years ago to help you to remember the different parts of ser as well. And the new meanings are, I am, you, the familiar you, are, he or she, is or you. This is now the polite you, are, we are, they or you all are. So I made up a little rhyme some years ago to help my students to remember the different parts of ser and how it occurs. And it goes a little something like this. I'm going to write it out first and then recite it for you. Soy de Jamaica. Eres de Jamaica. Jamaica es una isla bonita. Somos alumnos en la escuela. ¿Qué es esto? Es un libro. Es un libro. Lo siento, libro, un libro. ¿Qué son estos? Son los cuadernos. And so here you have all the parts of SER being used, and you have it being used in one of the ways in which SER is supposed to be used. So we have soy de Jamaica, eres de Jamaica. Jamaica es una isla bonita. Somos alumnos en la escuela. ¿Qué es esto? Es un libro. ¿Qué son estos? Son los cuadernos. Now, as we go further in the lesson, I'm going to be telling you about the uses of SER. And then I want you to look at the uses and come back to this little passage and tell me what use do you see coming out in the passage as we discuss it. So let's now look at the uses of SER. And for the uses of SER, one of the things that I find with Spanish is that students tend not to be able to assimilate the information because it's so much, it's a foreign language, and apart from rote learning or just trying to swap the information, there's really no way. And so I like to come up with different tricks, different things to help students to remember some concepts. And so in looking at the uses of SER, there are 4 main uses. And to remember these uses, I have come up with a little acronym, so to speak. And so I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the mop, seed, on the clock. What does that mean, you may wonder? All right, let's go into it. So the first use of SER is with de. And it's when de is used to tell what material something is made of. And we're going to look at some examples. It's used to speak about origin, and it's used to speak about possession. Them up. Sid, the C is for characteristic. The I is for identification. And the D is for description. On, the O is for occupation. The N is for nationality. And the clock is used to tell time. If you can remember dem up, sid, on the clock, you can remember the 4 uses of the verb SER. Let's take a look at some examples that bring out each of these. And so we're going to be looking at the dem up, first of all. De mop. And so here we have our examples. So it's used to express what material something is made of. So for example, we would say something like, la mesa, using a form of SER, es de, so it's used with the de, es de madera. The table is made of wood. For the origin, mi madre es de Cuba. Let's put it in a question. ¿De dónde es, and there's our de, su madre? We could also, well, if you go back up in our little rhyme, the origin is there in terms of nationality, etc., or where someone comes from. Let me put it that way, where someone comes from. When we now talk about possession, we're going to say la bolsa es de Elena. So the bag belongs to Elena, or the bag is of Elena. It belongs to Elena. And then we have the mop in action. What comes next? The mop, Sid. All right. So now we're looking at the CID. And with CID, we're talking about characteristic. And characteristic, let's look at, let's look at, no, I don't want to use a description. Let's say la sopa. And sopa does not mean soap, okay? It looks like soap, but it's a falso amigo. It means soup. La sopa es buena. So this is an inherent characteristic of the soup. It's good. For identification, let us use another form because we've been using a lot of S. Let's say now, soy el guía. I am the guide. You're identifying this particular person. For description, this is one that we tend to use quite a bit. So we can say, Maria es bonita. We could also say, eres delgado. You are slim. We could say, somos altos. We are tall. And it could go on. So we have our SID, we have our characteristic, or identification, and or description. What comes next? Demop, SID, on. O-N. So now we're talking about occupation and nationality. So we're going to say, mis padres son, for occupation, profesores. My parents are teachers. For nationality, mis, because you want to use up the plural form as well, right? Mis primos son españoles. They're Spanish. So we're on to number 4, just like that. So SER is also used to tell time. Telling time. And in telling time, we're going to realize that we have been using SER without even realizing it. So S, which is a form of SER, la una, for it is 1 o'clock. And then we have son, las dos, tres, cuatro, and all our other times for all the other hours. And ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, that is it. Just remember these things. SER is a criminal verb, so it does not conjugate along the regular conjugation rules. And there are 4 uses. Dem up, sit, on the clock. Use with de to speak about material, origin, and possession. It's used to tell characteristic, identification, and description. It's used to speak about occupation and nationality. And it's used to tell time. There you have it, SER in a nutshell. Adios.